and the Gaza Strip, all territory captured by Israel in the 1967 war with neighboring Arab states. The UN General Assembly in May last year overwhelmingly backed a Palestinian bid to become a full UN member by recognizing it as qualified to join and recommending the UN Security Council reconsider the matter favorably. The resolution garnered 143 votes in favor and 9 against. The General Assembly vote was a global survey of support for the Palestinian bid to become a full UN member, a move that would effectively recognize a Palestinian state after the US vetoed it in the UN Security Council. North Korea's state media, KCNA, reports that the DPRK's administration says the United States must accept that reality has changed since the country's summit meetings in the past and no future dialogue would end its nuclear program. Kim Yo-jong, the powerful sister of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, who is believed to speak for his brothers, said she conceded that the personal relationship between Kim and U.S. President Donald Trump is not bad. Asked about the North Korean statement, a White House official said Trump was still committed to the goal he had for the 3 summit meetings he held with Kim in his first term. At their first meeting in Singapore in 2018, Trump and Kim signed an agreement in principle to make the Korean peninsula free of nuclear weapons. The subsequent summit in Hanoi next year broke down due to a disagreement over removing international sanctions that had been imposed against Pyongyang. Lorena Wibbes prevails in a chaotic sprint to claim victory in the 3rd stage of the Tour de France Femmes, edging fellow Dutch rider Marianne Vos, who took the overall lead after a 163.5-kilometer ride from Lagacilly to Angers. Sprint specialist Wibbes, who narrowly lost Stage 2 to Mavi Garcia, made an explosive push for the finish as a crash in the final 4 kilometers tempted several riders, including Stage on 27th of July, but dropped to second with a sick Borghini, who withdrew from the race due to a stomach infection. 4 riders made an early attack to form the leading pack, with Alison Jackson, EF Education Oatly, winning a mountain sprint to the top of Côte de la Richardière. But others slowly caught up, with Lari Kopecky expertly leading her teammate Wibbes to the front, setting up the final sprint just before the crash derailed a number of riders behind them.
I actually didn't know this crash was happening because I was so focused to what was happening in the front, and the corners were quite tricky. But I hope all the riders are okay who are involved in this crash, and yeah, it was a bit chaos in the final. I mean, all the day it was quite big roads, and then the final was chaos.
New Zealand's Ali Wollaston finished 3rd as her teammate Vollering, who recovered from the crash, remained in contention in the general classification, sitting 19 seconds behind Vos. The tour continues today on the 29th of July with Stage 4, a 130.7-kilometer ride from Saumur to Poitiers through another mostly flat terrain. The North Pole Marathon concluded on July 13th this year, but the annual race on the world's northernmost point is also a scientific expedition to battle climate change in the Arctic. The North Pole Forum, a scientific initiative by the marathon organizer Runbuck, offered the runners an opportunity to learn more about the North Pole's ice sheets, the challenges around the region's preservation and development. The forum played out as a series of talks by global Arctic experts aboard the French icebreaker cruise ship Le Commandant Charcot that carried the runners both to and from the North Pole Marathon. Veteran Arctic explorer Peter Damisch, who leads the ship's scientific expedition, added that the French vessel has been gathering precious scientific data like water samples from both at the pole and along the voyage. The forum's lineup went beyond scientists, with speakers such as Jennifer Spence, the director of the Arctic Initiative program and an expert on governance and rights. Spence highlighted that the onus of collecting data and reducing climate change in the Arctic should be a shared global responsibility. With Russia claiming almost 50% of the Arctic Ocean coastline, Spence highlighted the need for Russia to expand its global cooperation with other Arctic countries to collectively combat climate change. The environmental crisis in the Arctic also influences the insurance sector, Baltic Insurance Services CEO Rob Schinek said during a talk at the forum.
that we have uniquely on board this vessel, a wet scientific lab and a dry scientific lab. We maintain a team of scientists throughout our voyage from the very beginning. We've been taking water samples. I just spoke to the team this morning, and they were so proud to bring up, they had shown me the profile of the work that we had done at the North Pole overlaid against all the other data sources on the North Pole, which strangely enough aren't that many. So the opportunity to have a team go up to the North Pole, the expense covered, and to get that scientific data, not just at the pole itself, but along the way, is truly precious, not just to us, but for the world community that will share that data.
Shinnick added that the insurance industry is trying to find solutions to climate change, be it the melting of polar ice caps in the North Pole or wildfires and hurricanes elsewhere. The North Pole currently grapples with rising temperatures, with a 2025 World Meteorological Organization report suggesting that the Arctic is warming 3 times faster than the global average rate. And that's all the news we have for today. We'll be back with any further updates. Until then, I'm Abdullah Ahil from PSM News.